For this lecture, I'd like you to go to the resources of this lecture and download the 3 text files. Then, in the Explorer here in your IDE, create a new folder. Give it a name, such as quotes, and then put those 3 files in that quotes folder. You can use drag and drop if you like. For example, I have these files somewhere, and I'm going to just drag and drop them in this folder. So you see that now the files are in the quotes folder. So what we are going to do in this lecture is, in the program that we have, we are going to write one of these 3 supported fillings for now. You can add more files later if you have some data, but this is what we have so far. And so when the user presses the Enlighten Me button, we want to show one of the quotes that are inside the happy.txt file. So one of these lines. Some are long, some are shorter. And so, if the user enters sad, then you want to display here, in this area, one of the lines of the sad.txt file. Those are also our quotes. And so you get the idea. And if the user enters an unknown filling, such as, let's say, excited, and when they press the button, you want to show try another filling, because you cannot have all possible fillings there covered. So this is what we are going to do in this lecture. Main.py. So let's start from the button. Try to locate the Enlighten Me button, or at least that's how my button is called. So that button is part of the login screen success page, and we don't have an onPress attribute yet. So onPress, what you want to do is you want to execute a method of the login screen success class, which I have it right here. So that login screen success, it already has a method logout, which is executed when this button is pressed, the logout button. Now we want to implement the getQuote method. Quote self as usual. And so this method now has to communicate the value that the user entered in the text input, so which is root.ids. We don't have an ID for text input, so let's put an ID. So this is the text input where the user entered the filling, and so let's put filling there. ids.filling. We want to get the text of that text input, so that filling will go here. Let's just call it fill, not to be confused with the filling word. And the first thing we might want to do is, let's see if we are accessing the filling text correctly. So print fill, and make sure you save the design.kv file, execute, login. I was able to log in because I have this a username I created earlier when I signed up. I created one username which is an empty string and an empty string for the password. So basically it's a user with empty string as username and password, which works because I haven't put any restrictions on the username and password. So this is just for simplicity when you test the application. Happy, Enlighten Me, and so we get the happy string there. And if that is with a big H, you're going to get happy. So what's the first thing we might want to do is to change the fill into lowercase. So even if the user enters happy with a capital H, we are going to convert that to all lowercase, so that we can compare now with the names in the text files, with the file names. So let's now see what available fillings we have. So I'm assigning a variable, available fillings, and I'm going to use the glob module to get a list of file names. This is what this is going to give me. An error, of course, because I didn't import glob. And so it gives you a list with all the files. This is all the available fillings. So we are here in the getQuote method. Now the available fillings list now looks like a list of file paths. What I want to do is I want to extract only the names of these files. So only the set part. A way to do that is by using the path object of the pathlib library. You don't have to install this library. It comes with Python. It's a standard library. Using path, if you give path a path such as quotes set.txt and then extract the stem out of that, it will give you the name of the file without the extension, without the other part of the path. In fact, you have many methods of path, and stem is one of them. So you can get the suffix, the name of the file, including the extension, such as that, and so on. And so what we can do here now is we need to make use of that stem property, and we need to apply that to all the file names. To do that, so you can use a list comprehension. So available fillings equal to path, let's say file name, for file name in available fillings. And here I would like to split the line into multiple lines. Since this is inside square brackets, I'm allowed to split the line. And so we want the stem out of that. And then we might want to try a print in here of available fillings. Also make sure to import from path lib import path. And then execute the app. And I got an error when I press the button, string object has no attribute stem. Yeah, of course, because I did here, instead of putting stem after the path object, I put it just next to the file name. File name is a string, so that's why you get str has no stem. So let's put it in here and try again. Enlighten me. So happy, sad, unloathed. That's what we want. Now we have the available fillings in a list. What can I do now? I can say if fill in available fillings. So if that filling is in the available fillings, then what we want to do next is we want to open that file that has that filling, that has the quote for that filling. So let's use an open. I'm going to use string formatting here, F. So quotes, I'm going to open this file path, which has this fill.txt as file. So what am I doing here? Well, that thing, what that is going to give me is, let's say the field that the user entered was happy, right? So we get that variable, it has a value, and if we get now this string, what it's going to give us is the file path for that filling. So this expression here in these braces is going to be replaced with the value of that variable, of the field variable. So I hope that is clear. And then we want to get all the quotes all of that file using the readlines method. So that will give us a list of all the quotes. So let me unindent and print the quotes to see what we've got this for. Happy, the quotes for happy, and this is a list. So as I told you, happiness is what you think and what you say and so on. And then it was told by Mahatma Gandhi, and then you have a comma, and there is where the other quote starts. And so on, we have a list of multiple strings, each string representing a quote. So what can we do with this quote now? What we can do is we can get the self.ids dot the ID of this label where we want to show the quote, which is just under the Enlighten Me button. So the ID quote dot text. So the text of that label will be a random choice of the quotes list. So what does this method do is it gets a list as input. So 1, 2, 3, and it returns a random item out of that list anytime you execute it. So just pure random. So therefore we're going to get one of these strings, one of these quotes, and that quote is going to be set as the text of the label. So that's how it works, and let's make sure we import random, and we are ready to execute the app. Login happy enlighten me, and we got this error, which is quite common attribute error. Super has no attribute get art attribute. This happens when the Python file doesn't find that ID, the quote ID in this case. So you can see that the error happened in line 61. So that line in there is not working well. That is, I think, because I didn't save the Kiwi file when I updated the ID of the label here. So I wrote an ID, but I didn't save the Kiwi file. So let me try again. I'm happy these errors emerge because you learn how to fix them. Enlighten me, and yeah, so we get the label displayed in here. When you press again, that random.choice function is going to get another random choice out of the list. Sometimes I suppose it may display the same quote, which is fine I think, but there are ways to make it display a different quote from the previous one, but this is working quite good I think. Expect of the case when there is a long quote and it's out of the borders of the app window. So this is a problem. But nothing to worry about, because we are going to implement a scroll view later on which will squeeze this label, and it will make it flexible by resizing the label depending on the widget, on the app size. For now, let me close that and finish the if-else block self.ids.quote.text equals to try another filling. So let me try one more time and we are done with this video. So that is working, that is also working, and I feel pretty, oh, try another filling, we don't support that. And this is how we make an app that picks a quote randomly. So the functionality of the program is pretty much done. What's left to do is we need to make it a bit pretty, the interface and the buttons and the spaces between the buttons. and add some animations. So these are things that will help you to make some real world apps which are modern and nice to use from the users and which you can actually sell. So let's do that in the next lectures.